something just broke. And it didn't break quietly. It cracked open like a pressure valve that had been sealed too long, hissing, shaking, threatening to explode, and finally doing exactly that. After weeks of absolute silence from her side, weeks of tight-lipped smiles on stage, strained expressions during public appearances, unusually guarded interviews, and a slowly spreading storm of online theories that seemed to multiply by the hour, Elira Cade finally reached the edge of her restraint. She couldn't hold it together anymore. And when I say she couldn't keep it together, I'm not talking about a subtle slip, a trembling voice, or a moment of watery eyes. No, this was something else entirely. This was a full-force eruption, a breaking point that sent shockwaves through every corner of the online commentary world. Elira didn't simply respond to Marla Devon, the firebrand host who had been prodding her for weeks with cryptic comments and half-sourced allegations. She launched back with a ferocity none of her followers had ever seen, accusing Marla of fabricating details, twisting timelines, exploiting Jackson Hale's situation to chase attention, and stirring unnecessary chaos for clout. Her words were sharp, unfiltered, heavy with emotion that had clearly been building inside her far longer than anyone realized. But here's the part no one expected. Her explosive response didn't calm anything down. It didn't put out the fire. It didn't settle the floating questions or silence the speculation. If anything, it added gasoline to the flames. Instead of easing the confusion, instead of helping the public understand the missing pieces, instead of providing clarity or closure, her emotional outburst only amplified the storm. Many viewers saw in her voice and expression something more than anger, something tight in her tone, quick in her breathing, a defensiveness that felt too strong, too reactive, almost like panic hiding just beneath the surface. And that, whether she intended it or not, opened a new wave of speculation that spread wider and faster than anything before. Suddenly, people weren't just asking, "What is Marla talking about?" They were asking, "Why is Elira reacting like this? Why does she look like she's fighting to hold back something bigger? Why does this feel like a crack where something else might leak through?" Because here's the strange thing. Every time Elira tried to explain, the online community ended up with more questions. Every time she insisted she was fine, the skepticism grew. Every time she dismissed an allegation without context, people felt the context was exactly what she was avoiding. It wasn't just what she said, it was the way she said it. And as her frustration spilled across her face, her hands trembled slightly, her voice sharpened, the entire situation took on a darker, more unsettling tone. The energy around it shifted. The story no longer felt like a simple disagreement between two high-profile personalities. It started to feel like there were cracks in the timeline, details that didn't align, puzzle pieces that were being wedged together in a way that didn't quite fit. There was a new heaviness to the conversation, an unease that seeped into every clip, every screenshot, every live stream reaction. Even the audience members who had initially defended Elira began to lean in, to squint at the subtext, to rewind her video statements and analyze her breathing patterns, her eye movements, the micro pauses before certain sentences. And while the internet is known for overanalyzing everything, this time there was something undeniably off. People felt it. People recognized it. The vibe had shifted. The silence she kept for weeks suddenly made more sense. Too much sense. It felt less like privacy and more like fear, less like protecting someone and more like hiding something. And the more fiercely she insisted there was nothing hidden, the louder the collective skepticism grew. Forums that had started with mild curiosity were now dissecting every event from the previous month. Commentators pulled up old footage, comparing her energy, her tone, her posture. They noticed she had been moving differently, speaking differently, staying unusually distant from Jackson during public outings, almost as if their timing had been rehearsed but their expressions uncoordinated. Even her smiles began to look tense in hindsight, forced, brittle, like someone trying to hold a door shut against a rising tide. And then more inconsistency surfaced. An old schedule didn't match a newer statement. A detail she dismissed as misremembered was proven accurate by an event log. A private message leaked from someone in her circle hinted that something had indeed happened that night, a night Marla repeatedly referenced, but never fully explained. The theories multiplied into branches, each branching into more, none of them fully aligning, yet none of them fully collapsing either. And so here we are, standing in the middle of a narrative that no longer feels contained. Because tonight what we're diving into isn't just an argument between Elira Cade and Marla Devon. It isn't even about whether Jackson Hale is involved or whether the original story holds any truth. It's about the gaps. Gaps so oddly placed, so impossible to ignore, that the audience can't help but feel like they're circling something bigger, something sitting just outside the edges of what's been said. It's about the emotional cracks in Elira's voice that didn't match her words. It's about the unexplained tension between her and her team. It's about the sudden PR freeze, the canceled appearances, the timeline inconsistencies, the witnesses who backed out of statements, the small details everyone initially brushed off but now can't unsee. It's the strange silence from people who usually never stay quiet. It's the lingering feeling that something important, something foundational, is missing from this entire story. So buckle up, because what we're stepping into is not just conflict, not just controversy, but a labyrinth of questions wrapped in half-truths, emotional eruptions, missing context, and a sense of uneasiness that's grown too loud to ignore.